Today I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a bigger story through a smaller story. A story you all know since you are sitting here now. I'm going to tell you a story of college debt. This is Justin, born December 18th, 1995, 18 years old. Just now starting his first year at college, attending SUNY College at Brockport. Before I continue on, however, let's take a step back. Further. 1940. America is neutral in the Second World War. Some of our grandparents and great-grandparents were growing up, some attending college. In the year 1940, about 186,000 students graduated college, less than 5% of all U.S. citizens 25 or older. Yale University cost $450 a year. After being adjusted for inflation, that's $7,200 a year in today's money. Fast forward a little. 1944, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, otherwise known as the GI Bill, was passed by Congress. This gives veterans an opportunity to go to college with great financial help from the government, as well as other federal benefits. The number of graduates tripled by 1950, rising to over 430,000. Fast forward again. 1958, the National Defense Education Act passed just under a year after Sputnik launches. For those of you who are not familiar, Sputnik was the world's first artificial satellite, launched by the Soviet Union during Cold War times when the U.S. was radically competing with the Soviets for the upper hand. The act was passed to authorize funding for student loan programs that encouraged young generations to have an interest in math and science, so we could all beat the Soviets. 1965. The Higher Education Act was passed to further fund education through scholarships, increased federal monetary aid to colleges, and low-interest loans for students. The act also changed loans from being directly from the government to being made to bankers, whose defaults were then backed up by the government. By 1970, 68% of federal aid offers were grants, and tuition was on the rise. The switch from federal to private loans was proving to be more expensive, but many lawmakers were involved in some form in these private banks and did not want the government stepping in, and so the indirect bank loans remained much more popular.
Here the seeds were planted. It's working. It's helping people from coast to coast.
But eventually, the government took back their hold through Obama's Obamacare package plan. The damage had already been done, though. In 2010, student debt loans in America totaled over $800 billion. In 2013, that number exceeded $1 trillion, with 37 million people in some sort of college debt. That's almost 10% of the country's population. So now that we have a history of where college debt has come from, let's continue our story. Justin is an average college student. He was not smart, athletic, or lucky enough to get any of the scholarships he applied for. His parents are currently going through a divorce, so that is leaving him with little money to help pay for college. His mother and father are both working decent jobs, but they are just over the approximate income deadline to receive financial aid they need. So Justin has been paying for it on his own.
Yeah, Justin's a really hardworking guy. He's always at work. He works like 30 hours a week. I always ask him to hang out, but he's busy a lot, and he always seems like he's stressed out. But yeah, he's a hard worker, and he's paying for his own college, so.
Justin works at a local car wash where he slaves for tips over 35 hours a week, only to put a large majority of it into paying for his first semester.
Justin has always wanted to be an astronaut for as long as we could remember, and we spent a lot of time researching different programs to find one that would be good for him at a private college. But unfortunately, the cost was too expensive for us. It's really not his fault. None of this is. But unfortunately, you've got to go to a college these days and get a degree. So this is the very best option that we have.
I hate seeing the boy work so hard so much. Ever since the accident and his sick, twisted mother left us, it's so hard for him, and he deserves a good life, and I just can't afford to give it to him.
I'd like to say that this story has a happy ending, but sadly it does not, and neither does student debt, which continues to rise every year. Other countries have started to refine their education programs, such as Germany, who's beginning to offer college tuition for free. Maybe in our generation, America can change its education to promote young students to follow their ambitions more and worry less about what they can and cannot afford. Maybe one day I can be an astronaut. For now, though, things aren't changing too quickly.